Good morning, everyone. You are connected to Cedefop, and it is 12 o'clock in Greece and 11 o'clock in Central Europe. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this European Year of Skills virtual get-together on skills intelligence. My name is Jasper van Loo, and I work at Cedefop as coordinator in the Department for Vet and Skills. Cedefop is the European agency that supports vocational education and training and skills policy and its implementation. From our premises in Thessaloniki, Greece, we work for the whole of Europe and with the European Commission, EU member states, social partners, civil society, other agencies and institutions, and of course, the vet sector. Cedefop organizes virtual get-togethers throughout the European Year of Skills. In these events, we put our evidence on vet skills and qualifications on the table. We discuss trends and challenges with you, an audience of policymakers, practitioners, experts, sectoral stakeholders, vet practitioners, and other partners. In today's virtual get-together, many of you come from a European country, and some of you are based in countries neighboring the EU or in other parts of the world. We have participants from Iceland, North Macedonia, Azerbaijan, Bangladesh, Tunisia, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, and also India and Indonesia, and several other countries. Welcome to everyone. As with any event, we have a couple of housekeeping rules. They should appear on the screen right now. First, if you have not done so, please name yourself. First name, last name, and country or organization. Second, cameras are automatically disabled and you will be muted throughout the meeting. We warmly invite you to use the Teams chat to ask questions, and you can also interact with us via Cedefop's social media channels. You can also use the chat to contact our support team in case you experience a technical problem. At Cedefop, we take continuous improvement seriously. At the end of the event, we will ask you to take 2 minutes of your time to complete an evaluation form. Finally, this event is being recorded so that people that were interested to join today but could not make it can watch it via our YouTube channel afterwards. Now back to this event today. We called it Road Mapping the Skills Revolution because often the answer to the rapid change we see around us in labor markets and societies is skills. Skills help build greener and more digital societies and help manage skill shortages, gaps, and mismatches. We need to invest in the skills of young people and adults, but we also need to invest in quality jobs so that skills are put to use and people benefit. To do that, we need to know how the labor market is changing today and in the future, and we need to know what skills people need for jobs and careers. This is where skills intelligence comes in. Today's virtual get-together has 3 parts. We start with a presentation about Cedefop skills intelligence and about how we aim to make sure it can be used for policy making and for practice. We will then have a discussion with 4 panelists who use skills intelligence to get their views on how they use it and what they consider its core added value. By talking to them, we would also like to collect ideas about how we can further develop our skills intelligence in the coming years. And the third part of the meeting is a quick wrap-up. I now have the pleasure to introduce my colleagues Stelina Hatzichristou and Gili Branca. Stelina is the team facilitator of Cedefop Skills Intelligence and Foresight team, and Gili is a Cedefop expert in that team. In their presentation, they will explain the ins and outs of Cedefop Skills Intelligence and why it is an essential part of the skills revolution. Stelina and Gili, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jasper. Good morning from us as well. As Jasper already highlighted, we are going to share, hope to provide you a glimpse of what we do in Cedefop in terms of skills intelligence, what it means for us and what it means also for our stakeholders. I hope that you can confirm that you can see my presentation.
Yes.
For those of us who don't know us, Jasper provided with a short introduction. We are an EU agency that we are looking into how labor markets may change in terms of skill needs. And the linked developments, the linked needs, and the linked opportunities for vocational education and training policies. We collaborate with the Commission and stakeholders, social partners mostly, in order to support them in identifying the right policies in doing so. And this is the essence, actually, of skills intelligence. Before we go into the details, we would love to understand a bit more of, where you come from in terms of lines of work. So please, for those who are not familiar with Slido, it's a software for online questioning and answering. You can join through slido.com, and you can use the hashtag with the number provided here, or you can scan the Q code. So it's almost at the time, but okay, please provide your responses. We see here more researchers, but also vet providers. It's also people from career guidance world, which is, I would say, understandable because of our the focus of our panelists, two of our panelists. As policymaker, you can be yourself policymaker or supporting a policymaker, someone at the level of decision making at your country or region or even municipality or city. Very good. This is just to get an understanding. It's interesting that we see a greater number of researchers in this area, but also many of you seem to be working in areas where you support decisions in relation to skills, I would say, and that's policies at many levels. We hope that this virtual get-together is interesting for all of you. So what exactly do we mean by skills intelligence? Because it may have different definitions across borders and across lines of work. It is the outcome of an expert-driven process, and this is important to understand in order to identify, to select the right sources, of data and information, and then analyze it and blend it in a meaningful way in order to provide the users with information that are timely, that are useful, that are understandable. And the understandable also implies an effective way of presenting this information. And why is it important? Because, of course, when we try to understand the skill needs of today's labor markets, but even more so of the future, in the short term and in the long term, try to anticipate skill mismatches, either gaps or shortages, it is important to have a clear understanding of what are the trends, what are the implications from the sectors, from the occupations, from technological advancements, from mega trends such as the green transition, etc. And it's not ideally skills intelligence is the fuel that really supports the development of policies, which means that this is what the circle with the arrow represents, that there have to be feedback loops between the developments of skills intelligence and their inclusion in when we discuss, when we design, when we implement policies at different levels. I would also like to stress the expert-driven process, as Jiri will present more in detail. It's sometimes more challenging to develop skills intelligence than one may think. So even in Cedefop 2, this is a team project. We use different types of data and information. For example, our unique tools, let's say the skills forecast, the European Skills Index, and the online job advertisements analysis, which means that we try not only to rely on more traditional, if I may say, methods and tools, but also to see and explore the benefits of understanding big data analysis. We have run sectoral skills foresights, more focusing on the green transition impact, but it's an area that we want to expand. And of course, we gain information and insights from our expert groups and networks, but also vet and skills relevant surveys that are run not only, for example, in our department, but also across Cedefop. And this is important to understand because the complexity of the changes in the labor market, the complexity of understanding the various trends and translating them into information that are useful for different audiences does demand as much as possible a variety of methods and tools that would grasp different aspects of changes in the labor markets, both in the supply and the demand. So we understood a bit where you come from in terms of lines of work, but we would also like to see whether and how you use your skills intelligence in this perspective in your work. First of all, how often do you use it? Is it a piece of, let's say, information that you use daily? It's impressively high share. There's no good or bad answer. Of course, even the people that never use it may now be interested more in using it. And of course, it's different needs of people when they do design. I see it's very good. I see that there is like a third of the responses now that they use the skills intelligence on a daily basis. So these are people that you are all people that you may very much understand the implications of skills intelligence, but also for those of you that use it once per month or once per week, it is also important later on to see your perspectives on the type, on the quality of information available, and on the way of presentation, etc. And when you use this skills intelligence in any time of timeliness or in any time frame, it would be very interesting to see what you mostly use it for, because as discussed already, and we will show in the next slides, the way that the data and in qualitative information can be selected and blended and then presented should be different when we address different user groups, and it's one of the beauties but also challenges of developing skills intelligence. So it's the national level policy making comes up more evidently, but it's also good to see that there are people involved in VET programs or curricula, and of course decisions at regional city level. It's very important because we see, for example, through our work, especially on the green transition, how important it is to understand and address the changes at the local level where change actually happens. And there's also, of course, the people on the front line, if we may say, of skills mismatching, that is people that support individuals such as job seekers. So interesting. Thank you very much. This is all information that we can build later on in the discussion, and it will be helpful for us. So, Jiri, the floor to you regarding challenges.
Thank you very much, Stelina, and also warm welcome from my side in this event. So, because we are developing skills intelligence now for more than a decade, we understood that there is a set of distinct challenges that complicates its development, but also its successful communication to many user groups. And you see the challenges described on the screen. So we speak about the level of detail, representativeness, timeliness, skills composition of skills part of the skills intelligence, which should not be there only just in name, but also in the content. And of course, because you want to have this activity sustainable and carried over for a longer time, we speak about the affordability. Now, and the skills intelligence itself is something that should cope with all of these challenges. And so we're trying to kind of find this spot in between where we can successfully combine all of those elements. But it is not that easy, and I will now understand you why. So regarding the level of detail, and Stelina, if you can please move forward with the presentation. We know that the practical applications of skills intelligence is often limited by levels of aggregation. So while the users from various perspectives, and especially those who engage with people who take individual decisions about jobs and skills, need as detailed information as possible on occupational, but also on skill level and also on regional level. At the same time, we want to achieve a good level of representativeness of the data. So meaning that we have to use a reliable methodology, and we take care and pay attention to data robustness and possible data gaps. And we also choose a data in such a way that allows comparisons. And this is one of the most important points for us, because we are an organization that serves the needs across all Europe. So the data needs to be comparable, not least by also countries. The third challenge of skills intelligence is timeliness. So we need to provide information as soon as possible, and to allow users to have the finger on the pulse and describe the trends that are happening or will be happening in a near future. The fourth component of the challenge are the skills. And this is because surveying and measuring skills is extremely difficult and also costly. And this brings us to the fifth challenge, which is that the resources to conduct the skills intelligence in required scale and frequency could be substantial, and we need to deal with this in every type of data collection and analysis that we are doing. Unfortunately, some of these challenges could be mutually exclusive, kind of. So, for example, when we speak about the level of detail and the representativeness of the data, going to the really very detailed level that could assist end users and individuals when making their skills decisions could be hindered by the fact that simply going down to such level of detail in the data is not possible because of its reliability and possible data gaps. Then, if you want to have something timely, you need to conduct surveys quite often. You need to do the data collection and update of skills intelligence quite often. And this puts you in odds with affordability, because you need to scale up the resources. And the third possible challenge is that basically when we speak about affordability, then again, maybe you have to sacrifice the level of detail, because covering hundreds of occupations and tens of occupations brings really significant differences in the cost that you have to carry. And finally, the fourth possible challenge is between the skills and affordability. As I have mentioned, the skills surveys are extremely costly, and to conduct them, you usually only have the sources to do once in a few years. So, taking into account these challenges, we can talk about some skills intelligence principles. And these principles on which we build the skills intelligence are fourfold. First, we focus on a specific focus, meaning that we look at specific teams, we try to cover occupations and sectors, and also countries. And the second aspect is that we try to provide a narrative in a form of a visual storytelling. So it saves us from costs associated with update of long reports and text. And at the same time, visualizing information helps users to understand what are the key messages that you would like to convey. The third principle is that the skills intelligence has to be updated friendly. And this for us basically means that in ideal case, we provide updates at least yearly, if not more often. For example, our online job advertisement analysis is updated 4 times a year to really tap on the fast changing aspect of this data. And the fourth one, which I have also mentioned before, is that we use a single EU-wide methodology. So when someone looks at the information coming from Germany and from Estonia or Poland, they know it's built on the same principles, and you can compare the countries among themselves. So I would also like to give a credit to work that is often invisible, because these visualizations and dashboards, publication and presentations we have is sometimes the only thing that people notice. But below the surface of skills intelligence, there is a lot of other things that precede that process and are extremely difficult and also costly. So we are starting from ideas and research questions. We spend a lot of work on developing and polishing the methodology, and then we move to data collection and data management, and we spend considerable time in quality control and data validation. And all of this then comes together in the way how we present the skills intelligence tool online. So on the next slide, you will see the main skills intelligence tool that you can visit on the Cedefop website. So it's skills forecast, skills of 8, European skills and job survey, matching skills database, and European skills index. And mainly on the first three of them, but also on additional data that comes from Eurostat, we built the skills intelligence tool, which I'm going to present to you right now. So I hope you can see my screen, and I would like to continue from here that you can access the skills intelligence tool by two ways. First, you can use this team menu and you get the tool to here, or you can also use it the access via the main menu item of online tools, where you not only find skills intelligence, but also the relevant ones like the skills forecast or skills await. So if you have been using Cedefop Skills Intelligence in the past, you may notice some changes that we have recently implemented. First of all, we have this banner which shows you the main updates and improvements that we have been doing on recently. And then you have these 6 tiles which will bring you to the newest addition in our Skills Intelligence dashboards, which deal with specific trends and thematic areas that are of our interest, but I will present them a little bit later. I will go back, maybe I'll start from the back, and I will tell you something about the indicators, which are the building blocks of skills intelligence. And again, if you used skills intelligence before, you see that now the information is more compact, and you no longer see the descriptions of indicators to allow you easier and faster scroll through the data selection that we have here. You can also notice that there are some changes in the indicator filtering. So you can filter the indicators by name, but you can also choose that, for example, you are interested in indicators that provide information on occupations. So you click here and you see that 25 of the 36 indicators actually allows you to look at this dimension. And for example, you may also want to see what data we have for different education levels. So you select the second filter, and now you see that we have still 9 indicators that might be of your interest. And last but not least is that we provide a filtering by the content focus, which means that these 6 themes that we have developed as new thematic dashboards can also allow you to see which indicators are related to those. And if you choose, for example, digitalization and technology, you see which indicators in particular fit this dashboard. Going back to these new themes, and I choose the example of digitalization and technology, you can see that as we usually build our dashboards, you start with a selection of key facts that come from different areas of Cedefop work. For example, you may be also interested where the indicators are coming from, for which you can use this information button. And if you open it, you will realize that this specific piece of information comes from a publication based on the European Skills and Jobs Survey, latest called Setting Europe on Course for a Human Digital Transition. Below this, you see that another interesting addition is that we allow for so-called tiles or tabs, where you can switch between the different parts of the dashboard, which otherwise can be really long. So if you want, so we start with employment, but you may also be interested in digitalization trends or relevant publications. So you click there and you go directly into that part. But let's go back to employment. So there is each section consists of a set of information that we carefully selected. So you have, for example, this map that shows you the employment share of high-tech occupations across countries coming from the skills forecast, so from the year 2035. You can also do a lot of things with the dashboard. For example, you can decide that you don't like this particular visualization and display it in a different way, for which you can use this, and then the view automatically adjusts. For each graph, you can also get access to the final data or download it also as a picture or a graphic format for your inclusion in some other product. You may also notice that we have included an overview of charts that we deployed in each section, and also relevant indicators that powered this specific section. So the first 3 sections are really about the data and that we associated with digitalization and technology trends. But you can also access the second leg of the skills intelligence, which is so-called data insights, short reports that we develop on specific topics. And you see that we are able to link this digitalization and technology trends with no less than 7 data insights that we developed over the last years. And these are still, let's say, included in the main skills intelligence tool, and I will show you how you can access them. But skills intelligence tool also allows you to connect with the rest of the Cedefop website and identify through relevant keywords which publications we Cedefop made in recent time to discuss the digitalization and technology challenges. Among those is, for example, the Skills in Transition, a major skills intelligence publication we did last year. Now, I mentioned the data insights. You can also access them through a specific section of the Skills Intelligence tool, which is this one. And you can also see that we organize them by collections, by countries, anticipation systems, and by occupations. And there is one focus on skills and learning and another one on sectors. So the one on the challenges in occupations is the one that we updated very recently. And you can see a selection of 33 occupation reports that we were working on very hard last year. I choose the example of construction workers, and again to show you how we connect information from different parts of the tool together. So, for example, if you go to Skills Intelligence Occupation Dashboards, which is this button, and then you select, for example, the construction workers from here, you see that besides the typical data and visualization-driven approach, you can also access the relevant reports and you can access the construction workers from here. The connection between different parts of skills intelligence works in different ways. So, for example, you may be interested not in occupational view, but maybe you come from construction sector and you would like to know what information do we have about construction. And the information about construction is again a dashboard that could be accessed via the sectoral menu. And you will see again this carefully crafted narrative of data and information coming from different Cedefop surveys and data sources. But you can also see that we link the most important occupation, which is the construction workers, and then you can go back to reports and the occupation data insights that we have. My last point that I would like to make is that we not only include information coming from Cedefop work, but for example, here in the sectoral approach, we can also share information about EU-funded sectoral skills project, also called blueprints on different topics. And again, construction sector is here covered. And you can access in a short and I think really nice summarized way how this important strategic approach to skills development in the construction industry has been conducted. To sum it up, I would like to say that for us, the skills intelligence is a kind of ecosystem where we try to connect different pieces of information, be it Cedefop's own data collection and development, data coming from Eurostat, and really a wealth of qualitative information that come from different sources. And with this, my part of the presentation is over, and I will now give the floor back to Sterina.
Can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. So after this very interesting presentation, you saw what we include in our skills intelligence tool. What would you be most interested in terms of the modes of the types of data and qualitative information that we include? I already see responses about the sectors, about the indicators, occupations, the thematic dashboards that we introduced, the country level skills intelligence. I feel the need to highlight, of course, that, as I said, Cedefop skills intelligence in general and the tool provide information, and they build on data and information that come from various lines of work, and it's definitely a team effort. We have a team that works on skills intelligence. as Jasper mentioned at the beginning. The tool has been recently redesigned under the guidance of Yiri, and we hope that you enjoy this new version, where the focus was not only on the information and the data included in its quality standards, of course, but also on the user experience. And it's one of the aspects that Yiri strongly highlighted. So I see here that there is a strong interest in occupational and sectoral skills intelligence, and then at the country level. But also the short analysis format we have on data insights are going strong. I would assume that depending on each person's line of work, the information presented would be of different use and therefore different level of interest. So thank you for your responses. To sum it up and to conclude, in order to move forward to our panel discussion, it is important for us to highlight again the linkages that there should be between skills intelligence and effective policy making and decision making at different levels. In terms of Cedefop's work, of course, our focus is on vocational education and training. This is a slide and a concept that we have developed for the green transition, but I think it applies across the assessment of megatrends impact, assessment of overall developments in terms of skills and training needs. What's the role of vocational education and training now, and traditionally, but especially now when there are several megatrends that policymakers and decision makers and individuals need to take into consideration, is much faster than in the past. So what vocational education and training can do is to support and mitigate any negative effects and smooth out transitions at the short term. So fast decisions need to be taken, but also in the long term, we need to see how to design systems and how to make decisions that will support the VET system, the provision, the teachers, the learning outcomes development, but also individuals, employers, employees, the regions, the national level, to make the transitions happen. And it's definitely digitalization transition and green transition, the twin one, that's is most probably the major megatrend of our times, but also other elements, other changes that take place at EU and national level. And in any type of change that needs to be made for VET, from recalibrating to developing different types of provision programs that will better meet the needs of learners, such as micro-credentials and short training modules, boosting up apprenticeships, or even shaping mindsets. For example, this is important in the green transition. It is skills intelligence that is the invaluable and key pillar of every such process, because no type of decision and no type of policy making can take place without robust, effective, and timely skills anticipation. And there we also see the need to highlight the importance of bringing skills anticipation more to the front and listen, let's say, to the more recent megatrends and policy needs, such as the green transition, where, for example, more skills anticipation focusing on this specific type of changes is necessary for policy making. And as a last step, as a conclusion, I share with you the matrix that reflects Cedefop's work regarding the European Year of Skills. Probably most of you have heard about it during from May to 2023 until May 2024. The focus of the EU is to highlight the potential and the relevant challenges and the role of policymaking at different levels in terms of skills. Let's say the step number 9 is what is more relevant to what we're discussing here today, that we need to turn skills intelligence into action. But at the same time, in order to achieve a green and a digital transition that does not leave anyone behind, you may take a moment to see how this really penetrates all the other steps, how important it is to understand more and more the different aspects of VET policies. Linking also to the word ecosystem that Yiri mentioned earlier, see here in step 5 how the skills intelligence needs to reflect an ecosystem, which means that these different type of projects, these different type of stakeholders that need to be informed, they also need to be involved in the overall process when we try to design and understand skills intelligence and trends. Here you can find the presentation will be made available online after the event. You can find some key and more recent skills intelligence publications from our work. Proudly, the Skills in Transition publication is a team output of last year, but you can also see more information about specific sectors, but also a more research-oriented analysis, very useful for the valuable insights gained by online job advertisements. Thank you very much for your time. I saw that there are some questions in the chat already, and in the case that you would have more questions later on, please feel free to share with us in an email. You have our contact points. I think
yes, I can address some of the questions because there are three and mostly related to the part I was speaking about. So there is a question about the level of information which is provided for temporary work and temporary agency work. So two types of information that we provide. In the skills intelligence tool, we have two indicators that come from European Labour Force Survey. The first one is the share of people declaring, working, having temporary contract. And also, and the second question, which we combine it with, is the share of people who also declare that they are having the temporary contracts involuntarily. And this information also enter one of the new thematic dashboards, and I can also share the screen with you, so you see how you can find it. So in indicators you can find the information about temporary work here, that you choose the content focus of workplace trends, and then you have the temporary employment here, and involuntary temporary employment here, and you can also access them via the theme which is called workplace trends. We also collect the information about the share of workers about temporary contracts in the second tool of ours, which is the skills of weight, and which you may also know, this brings the information from the online job advertisement analysis. And if you look at the dashboard that is called the occupation focus, then you can also find an information about the share of workers, share of jobs offered for temporary contracts here. So these two ways how you can display information up to ISCO 3-digit level, which covers more than 100 occupations that could be accessed via Cedefop Skills Intelligence tool. The second question that was put in the chat is information about any data that we have at NUTS 2 level, on the regional level. So I would only like to say that from some of the data that we cover, like for example, Cedefop skills forecast, we cannot go to regional level, although we were considering this also. And because of the challenges related to affordability and need to update all the data quite frequently, we opted to have the information in skills intelligence only at country level. You can access regional information again in the skills survey in our online job advertisement analysis, when there is plenty of information available for the regional level, and there is actually one specific section with several dashboards where you can browse the data and this level of detail. The third question is that if you have any impact studies on analysis of the skills intelligence tool, yes, we regularly monitor the traffic on the skills intelligence tool, and we see how people work with that information, whether they download our publications, and how much time they spend interacting with different parts of the intelligence tool. And this is an important part of how we try to improve the quality, and it was also behind one of the reasons why we decided to make the recent updates and improvements to make it more user friendly. And the fourth question is about the utilization of green skills taxonomy from ESCO in the skills intelligence tool. We know about the work of ESCO regarding the green skills taxonomy. but we also felt it was necessary to bring additional views on how green skills are developed and formed, and we actually used in a work that is led by my colleague Joanna Napierala, that we use the data-driven approach in order to understand what new terms and new skills are appearing in online job advertisement data, and try to improve the ESCO skills, green skills taxonomy on the basis of that. And this is work that is currently being finalized and will be available and presented by us in near future. I'm not sure if I skipped some of the questions, but in any case, we are approaching the end of this part of the presentation of the event. So I would continue responding in the chat, and I will now give the floor back to Stelina.
Thank you, Jiri, and thank you all for your interesting questions. There are indeed some questions that we have not managed to respond to now, but we will reply to you in an email. Please feel free also to contact us with further questions. This brings to a conclusion the first part of the presentation, and with great joy, I will invite my colleague Ernesto Villalba to join me in supporting the panel discussion. Ernesto is well known, if I may say, Cedefop expert and a guru in the validation of non-formal and informal learning, among other things. And I'm very happy that we will join forces to have a discussion with some very, very interesting experts. Today we have with us Ms. Julie Bofis, the Secretary General of Europe On, and Professor Jana Kettunen from the Finnish Institute for Educational Research, Professor Peter Weber from the University of Applied Labor Studies in Germany, and Mrs. Diana Marcello, Senior Policy Advisor for Skills from Union Camere Europa. Welcome to all. May I kindly ask you to switch on your cameras so we can all see you. Excellent. We are indeed very glad to have you because, as you know, I think anyone that deals with the skills intelligence can think that it can address a wide range of user groups. We tried in this panel to welcome experts in different areas of work where skills intelligence can be used in order to get some, let's say, insights about what are the opportunities, what are the challenges for the different user groups, and therefore for the different types of skills intelligence. But let's start. In our presentation with Jiri, we highlighted some challenges for selecting, analyzing, even presenting and producing high quality skills intelligence. And I would like to start with Peter, who has substantial experience in supporting the developments of online tools. So from your experience, Peter, what would you say are the key factors for enabling effective use of skills intelligence?
Yeah. So thank you for the question. And first, what I see is that we have a shift in new tools that can really have a substantial support different individuals, whether people who are in learning processes or guidance practitioners or HR experts. So very important for me is the visibility of the tools so that people know about, and that we have also channels to inform them, not just that tools exist, but also how they can support their own work, whether as professionals or individuals in a learning process. You have to put your headphones. Sorry?
I think there was, no, please continue.
Yes. So the information about it, and then also I think there's a need for skills to use those. So the platforms you have developed, I work with practitioners, And what I see is that they need also kind of information and a kind of training how to use these platforms. So this is important. And what we do with our tools is also to think about how we can make the platforms more accessibility using IA tools to link the questions of users and the data behind. Because I think even that the platforms are really great to find information for people who are not used to it, it's still a gap between how they ask questions and how they then find the data. So these are 3 points I would think we all can work on.
This is thank you, Peter. Especially your suggestion of making the platforms more accessible by using AI tools to link the data with the user's questions, highlight the importance of also innovation in skills intelligence in terms of data collection, but also of presentation. So this leads me nicely, I think, to Diana, that represents a national perspective of skills intelligence, the Italian Excelsior survey and tool, which has been in place for quite some years. Diana, also building on the response of Peter, can you please tell us what are the drivers and the challenges also that you saw in your work related to introducing new types of data and analysis in your skills intelligence?
Yes, thank you, Stelina. So as you said, Italian Excelsior was developed by Unioncamere some years ago. Unioncamere is the Italian public body representing chambers of commerce in Italy, and this intelligence tool and the project, let's say, was brought over with the Ministry of Labour and Social Policies in Italy. It started as a survey providing information about companies and programmed job entries. Then we blended it with data from the business register and combined it with social security data to check for work entries. So we collected data, requirements for these jobs companies were offering, educational level required, preferred ages of the candidates, work experience, also assessing difficulty faced by the companies in hiring the required workers. We developed a model, a methodology, and we used it to develop an intelligence tool and forecasting tool to assess the future recruitments and skills firms needed. Over 4 years ago, we decided to include also and integrate on-job line advertisement, but we chose to include only those for which companies identified themselves, so not the anonymized ones. Because this implied developing application program interfacing, scraping web pages, and in some cases also crawling, we developed a method to treat this data and reconstruct and blend it in our meta surveys. So challenges were obviously there to avoid duplication. But in brief, we understood that we had a need for further development of skills internally, and that the department that was responsible for Excelsior was under strain in building these new skills. There's a limit also to the skills that we can develop internally. Limits, they also descend, just as was pointed out, by the fact that we are a public entity, but there are budgetary restraints. It's not easy procedure for hiring. So we oriented ourselves also to partnerships. So initially with different universities, and then we resorted to external experts in mining data sets. So partnerships really are key. Another challenge we face stems from the need to adopt a mix of strategies to engage with the different information channels, how to disseminate differently to different stakeholders. So how to disseminate to policymakers, vet students and the families, vet providers, and also targeting the information regionally for the local chambers so that efforts are actually put into Excelsior for it not to be reduced to simply informing stakeholders. We train our chamber staff to make use of the insights from the Excelsior. We do training activities with SMEs, for example, staff working at digital support points or innovation hubs. And we train staff to use it with vet providers in schools. Now, in the case of member states in Italy, for example, the mechanisms that are put in place to ensure that skills intelligence is used in a systematic basis it's what we were talking about at the beginning, as in terms of feedback loops. They have to be tightened and actually more formalized. And as we were saying, it's very, very challenging to disseminate in a coordinated manner.
Thank you, Diana. I think one taking on this last point that you made on the dissemination, I'd like to turn to Jana. That as Estelina has said, I think Jan is one of our experts in careers network, and is the president of the International Association of Education and Vocational Guidance. So you have a large experience on guidance support and on guidance research. So I was wondering, from your view, Jana, which practices would you say and methods are most effective for the dissemination of the data and the skills intelligence that we have?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Of course, in today's digital age, the strategic use of various digital platforms for dissemination of skills intelligence is important, as already mentioned by two other panels. This approach not only allows us to reach a wide audience, but also to target specific groups effectively. By crafting engaging and shareable content, we significantly enhance the visibility and user engagement with the skills intelligence. It is crucial that we tailor our communication strategies to meet the diverse needs of our stakeholders, including individuals, educators, policymakers, and industry professionals. This kind of tailored approach ensures our efforts are not only widespread, but also deeply impactful and addressing the unique needs of each group. Furthermore, creating the strong partnership with industry and community stakeholders is vital, as we just heard. Such collaboration, they can lead to sharing of skills intelligence through workshops, seminars, and industry events, and also providing real-world context to complement this data. Other key strategy in integrating this intelligence directly into educational curricula and career services. And this ensures that individuals and groups have access to this timely and relevant information, enabling them to make well-informed decisions regarding their educational and career paths. In career guidance, individuals and groups, they have an opportunity to discuss and reflect the questions relating this information which they might receive in such services with professionals. It is also essential, as was mentioned earlier, to engage with policymakers to embed skills intelligence in national and regional strategies for education and employment. Advocating for its importance in workforce development policies can in a way institutionalize its use and ensure it longer-term benefits. Lastly, I would mention that sharing the best practices, sharing the experiences and insights on an international scale can really improve the quality and reach of skills intelligence dissemination. Participating in international forums and networks focused on career guidance and labor market intelligence can encourage valuable exchange and enriches our collective knowledge and approach.
Thanks. Thank you, Jana.
Ernesto, you're muted for some reason.
It keep doing something strange, my computer. Apologies about that. I was talking that I think partnerships came to me as one of the key elements that you have mentioned, Jana, and also Diana before you. So I want to turn to Julie. From a sectoral perspective, in a way, and kind of bringing in this partnerships idea. having this sectoral perspective from your point of view, can you tell us a little bit more of the role, let's say, that sector associations have in developing skills intelligence, and which tools do you find more useful?
Hey, can you hear me? Okay. Well, thanks, Ernesto, for the question, and hi everybody. So yeah, I mean, of course, we are not researchers, so we have a more informal or humble approach, I would say, to working with skills and intelligence, even though it's very important for us because I represent through Europe on a sector which is changing rapidly. So electrical contractors, electrical installation, and yeah, there are lots of challenges in terms of skills, in terms of workforce that we have to be aware of so that we can contribute. And I would say that as a European confederation for this sector, we are a bit playing the middleman role between companies on the one side and policymakers on the other side. So we are trying with our member associations, which are national associations of electrical contractors, to collect and analyze feedback from companies. So they, our national members, they tend to, run surveys, meet with companies in fairs, organize roundtables, so that we can feel what are the main preoccupations skills-wise that companies have. And on the other side of the spectrum, we try to anticipate the skills which will be needed in the very near future, and which are based on energy and climate policies, which are very often decided at European level and then implemented and developed further at national or even local level. So we can think, obviously, I think that the main example that's in our remit is the European Green Deal. So a big set of legislations completely revising energy and climate objectives and policies. So sharing information at European level is very important. So Europe On works as a forum for country-based associations, so that they can learn from each other in terms of skills intelligence. And finally, the last point I want to make here is that Europe On and some of our members, we are involved in an Erasmus Plus funded project, which is called EQF ELEC. So it's all about setting up a voluntary qualification framework for electricians. And so we're trying to define what should be the basic qualifications and skills for level 3 to 5 electricians. Maybe one last comment on this, because you were also asking, how effective tools are and how we implement them. Obviously, this project has been quite of a challenge because there are lots of things that we had to define at the beginning, and which are, to some extent, we have to make choices. So I'm not saying it's arbitrary, but we have to make choices. So for example, what do we mean with electrician? Because there are so many jobs behind this. And also, how do we ask the right questions? Because the starting point of this project was a survey. So how do we ask the right questions which can be understood similarly across Europe? What do we mean for this or that type of occupation? And does it reflect the same reality across Europe?
Yeah, thank you. That's actually this EQF, as you know, Cedefop is very much involved in the development of EQF, so it's a very interesting project, I have to say. But I want to kind of, from an employer perspective, if you can tell us, there's a lot of discussion about shortages and finding the right skills. So, if from your point of view, how can the skills intelligence be used to kind of address these shortages and these skills and matching, let's say?
Of course. So yeah, of course, we don't want to stay at sheer analysis. We want to engage with policymakers, and we want concrete actions, which can be, developed at policy level or also at associations level. It's not just about policy making. So the first thing for us is that trade associations at national level are, depending on countries, more or less involved in designing curricula. So of course they try to make curricula evolve based on the latest skills intelligence information they can have. Our members also provide in-house training or they work closely with training centers around them, again, depending on national specificities. And then we engage with policymakers either at national level or at European level. And what we ask based on skills intelligence that we have is, for example, public support to ensure that the new skill sets can be taught to students and taught by enough professionals. So we are, again, it depends on countries, but it can be about asking for more schools, asking for more support for apprenticeships, because of course the professions that we represent are relying heavily on work-based learning. We also want better equipment in schools, because sometimes it's extremely outdated, especially with the fast evolution of technologies. And also better paid teachers, because we see that there's often a gap between teachers working in academia and professional schools. So that's about public support. Then a second aspect related to policymakers, which is not easy but really indispensable, is that we need a change of mindset. I don't think I need to convince the room here, because we are all working to some extent on VET. But overall, I think that in Europe there's a need to rehabilitate technical education. Otherwise, we won't have enough students and professionals to learn the new skill set that we're discussing today. Just one example, in Germany at the moment, there are close to 96,000 electricians and installers, which are missing. So we need them as of now, and we can't find them. So one of the aspects is definitely linked to the lack of attractiveness of those curricula, and this has to change. And finally, I was talking about climate and energy targets before. We need policymakers to set really clear trajectories, especially at national level, because the more we will be clear about how many, how many heat pumps, how many electrical cars will be needed in the future, the more we will be able to get ready with the right curricula and have enough schools and teachers to play this game.
Thank you, Julie. If I may take the floor, because you mentioned, among others, of course, the energy, the green transition, which is we have exchanged in the past. It's an area of great interest, and particularly for sectors and occupational associations such as Europe On, but also thank you for highlighting the role of skills intelligence for, let's say, pushing policymakers and change. Based, you show information, you show reliable data, and it's easier to convince. But also the element of attractiveness, the lack of, in particular for specific sectors and occupations, that for the green transition can be an actual obstacle for reaching some goals and facilitating regions, countries meeting their goal. But since you mentioned the energy transition, which is a pillar for the green transformation of the EU, I would say that I'm interested in understanding how your organization and members in particular, because you represent associations from all over Europe, how do they deal with identifying the skill trends, particularly for the green transition, and which are some challenges that you may come across? Because as I mentioned in my presentation, having more green skills anticipation, as we call it, in order to have more green skills intelligence, is one of the desired steps ahead.
So again, there are different ways in which we try to provide the right skills for the green transition and identify the right skill trends. I think all of our members are monitoring very closely the evolutions of the market, trying to see what's working better or less well. For example, at the moment, we see that there is a fall in the residential construction market altogether. But our members are not so worried overall. Of course, again, talking a bit in general terms, but they are not so worried overall because they see that there's increasingly a demand from companies and consumers all across Europe for energy efficiency installations, or to install renewable energy facilities. For example, again, solar panels is a good example. So we see this shift, and this is happening quite smoothly because we develop trainings. We also make sure that this takes place also even in basic education. This is one of the learnings, I think, from our EQF ELEC project. We see that now basic education for electricians has to include some level of qualifications related to the energy transition as a bare minimum. But in terms of challenges, I would say that we are just a few months away from the European elections for the European Parliament, and what we see is that there's a shift coming in discussions, in the narrative of policymakers, and this could be summarized as what we call usually a green fatigue. So we've seen lots of new policies and legislations related to this Green Deal, to energy and climate targets, but it seems like many policymakers are starting to think that maybe EU citizens have had enough, and so we see some temptation to reverse some policy legislations which have been adopted recently. One good example of that is that some policymakers now want to reverse the ban on combustion engine sales, so traditional cars, which was supposed to enter into force in 2035. And this has tremendous implications on skill sets and trainings, because do we really need to train more people to install electric cars or not if this ban doesn't happen? This is one example of how we are trying to work on the green transition skills, but not be sure about how much we have to invest in this change, because, well, we think it's going to be a revolution of, there will be lots of new jobs. It's already happening, and lots of new trainings needed in that respect. But we also see this sort of, hesitation, which doesn't help planning ahead. And this is a big investment for companies to work on new curricula, to include more people, recruit more people. So it is quite damaging to this whole effort not to have a clear vision on what the future will bring policy wise.
Thank you very much. It is very interesting in my view to also mention, and thank you for mentioning it, that skills intelligence, because it is it's alive. It has a life on its own. It changes, and it also reflects the, let's say, instability, or the changes that take place sometimes too quickly at policy level, and we need to reflect as quickly as possible. And understandably, this is a challenge. But in general, the green, let's say, transition, the skills and job analysis is an effort for skills anticipation systems across Europe. We've seen in Cedefop's analysis of those, and I would like therefore to ask Diana, because I would say, what is your experience in developing such analysis on green skills and jobs, and who is most interested in using it from, of course, the Excelsior side of things?
Well, over 12 years ago, we started investigating green skills, analyzing and measuring 3 aspects that were related to the green economy. So, for example, looking into job entries for green jobs and green skills, investigating green taxonomies, companies' propensity to invest, and then also looking at companies' investment in technologies for green transition. And for This for us was quite a challenge because we had to use the Italian National Statistics Institute framework, so which is the CP 2011. So it's aligned as much as possible to the ISCO, now the International Standard Classification of Occupations. So we borrowed a bit from also other sources, from the Green Job Zero Net taxonomy. And simplifying, I would say that the transition from the original work from the National Center of Zero Net Development to the classification that then Excelsior used for its purposes has involved a series of choices and methods and processing and transcoding. So the tool draws a picture now of green jobs and green skills that are most in demand and the sectors they are most in demand for example. We talked about earlier, in the first part about construction technicians, and we see that, for example, a skill which is required is to identify and select environmentally friendly materials and components, or the use of the latest technologies for energy savings in domotics. And it's very important we train vet providers to make use of these findings and to learn to use the tool not only to inform but also, to connect vet provision, just as Julie was saying, like working as the middleman and integrating practice of these skills in PCTOs, which are the compulsory part of vet provision for which Italian Chambers of Commerce are responsible. We connect companies of specific sectors to vet providers. We engage with both, and we are now developing together certification schemes for certain sectors, for example. And this obviously we try to use our findings on green skills in these certifications. For example, in mechatronics, we have a collaboration and there's an important, this collaboration we hope will have an important role in developing a more sustainable mechatronics. So when we go from informing to training, again, partnerships with the relevant stakeholders, relevant umbrella organizations or sectorial vet providers, relevant sectorial organizations. So in Italy, also technological institutes are there. So for us to help them bridge gaps with the needs of the companies, and they are pivotal in translating the acquisitions of these skills into practice. And this is also fueled, I might add, by the work that we do as chambers in supporting apprenticeship. And we, with both vet providers and vet students, we use information also for guidance purposes, but not in the sense of career guidance, but in the guidance of training choices, I would say. So these are all aspects in which the green skills. Last year, we published a major publication on green skills, but these are for sectors we see different green skills being very much in demand.
Thanks, Diana. Very interesting. I think I love the fact that, again, these skills intelligence is being used to kind of help, let's say, in the curricula and in the building of programs, let's say, of training programs. And also what Julie was saying, how important it is to kind of predict in a way, like these decisions that are taken have a lot of implications for provision also. But I want to go from the green transition to the digital transition, let's say, and go into the digital now. Hopefully not that we are green fatigue, but let's focus now on the ICT and the use of technologies, because of course skills intelligence also is quite crucial. So Jana, you are really an expert on digital technologies. I mean, everybody knows that you have written a lot about the use of ICT for career guidance. So tell us, from your point of view, what is your take on this digital transformation of skills intelligence, and what are the challenges and the opportunities that, let's say, it brings to us?
Yes, thank you. There are for sure many more than I will elaborate now, but I mean, there are at least two quite obvious opportunities. I mean, the digital platforms, they enable us the real-time connection and analysis of labor market and data in very new way. I mean, this kind of real-time aspect in today's society, it is crucial for keeping pace with all this fast evolving job market and emerging industries. Furthermore, the digital technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, they really offer us very sophisticated analytical tools that as we know what we currently have at hand, they can parse large data sets and identify these trends, skills gaps, and future opportunities, and in very, very new way. So this really significantly empower career guidance, educational planning, and workforce development. The second clear opportunity that I see lies in personalized, really difficult word, personalization. So, I mean, these tools, we can tailor skills intelligence to align with an individual's unique career paths, educational backgrounds, interests, and on that way, the information can then reveal more personalized views of opportunities and what individual can visualize and move forward. So this level of customization enhances the relevance of information in career-related guidance and in career guidance-related discussions, which really make it a powerful tool for individuals' career planning and visualization on one's life. However, this digital transformation is not without its challenge. One significant concern that we all are aware and have to keep in mind is the digital divide. How do we make and how to ensure equal access to digital skills intelligence tools is really important. And we have to avoid creating a scenario where only those with access to technology or the skills to use it can benefit these insights. This really requires efforts to enhance digital literature and make sure that digital infrastructure across all countries, all different user groups in our society is taken care of. And of course, there is a matter of data privacy and security. As we may forward on developing new tools, making use of existing skills intelligence use in new tools, so interoperability on different on platforms, it's important that we safeguard this information and really keep in mind that this is a critical part of when we design new services. So we must establish robust ethical standards and legal framework to really take care of the individual's privacy and ensure that data that any service collects or any service changes or uses is transparent and consensual.
Okay.
Lastly, just
sorry, very quick,
very quickly. Lastly, just want to highlight that although we bring in the new technologies and they have a lot of opportunities, they cannot replace the human element. So although individuals can find and this gives us a new data, there is a lot of still need for example, career guidance where individuals can reflect and learn also to use and read this information that is available on these new tools. So highlighting also the human aspect here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana. I'm sorry that we are running out of time and I don't want to lose the opportunity to ask one question also to Peter that I think it's very important, and it kind of follows up what you were saying about the importance of the human element in a way. Peter, because you are very much engaged on the training of career counselors. So I kind of, maybe you can tell us a little bit of your perspective of how should career counselors be trained to kind of include skills intelligence and products. And I think it's an important element to point out, or the whole kind of everything that we are discussing here is an element that needs to be discussed. So, but very brief because we are running out of time and we still want to have some more.
Yeah, thank you. I think the tools we have, they're very rich and helpful for practitioners and individuals, and linking individual vocational choices to data-driven information is a task practitioners can support, but they need training, and not just training on the technical side, but also to reflect their habits. So do they believe in that data can support their guidance practice to a better result for the individuals and the companies in the local area? Can they integrate the digital tools in their daily work? So if they are in schools, for instance, do they have not just the technical surrounding to integrate the tools, but also, for instance, enough time, whether with groups or individuals? How can I do that? And how can I point out the benefit for the clients? I think it is important that the tools themselves are designed that they can support this kind of practice and learning for the people. So not just in on-site trainings, but in the daily use of it. But of course, training is an important part for practitioners. They need also time really to try out, to use the tools, and to practice them in hybrid, in integrated settings, and not just for pushing information out, but also for integrating it in a human communication. So working with clients and the tools on the same desk or in a hybrid setting. And last point, practitioners need ideas how to integrate the tools in their knowledge management in the team. So our practitioners typically work in teams of 10 to 14 practitioners, and so they can have a knowledge management that build on this kind of tools, to know about training needs in their area, to know also about the employers who are lacking skilled staff. And so I think this is also a question of knowledge management, and this can support a site to make it more usable, to more used and part of the daily practice. And yes, this is what we should support when we develop these tools for further. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Peter, and thank you all. The richness of the discussion is it's really encouraging about the steps ahead. I will have many things to comment on, but I will let, of course, Jasper give his more dense and rich wrap up. If it's possible, in 2 minutes, if there is any question between the panelists, but we literally have like 2-3 minutes for that. So maybe a couple of questions overall. Yes, Diana.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to ask something to Julie and inquire about the gaps between available and also required skills professional and skill set sought, and what actions are taken to close this gap.
That's the €1 billion question, right?
In 1 minute maximum, please.
In 1 minute, so of course our members are working a lot on awareness and attractiveness campaigns. I mentioned that, developing new curricula, also trying to attract new profiles, because I'm talking about the electrical side of things, very much linked to construction, and we know that both in construction and in technical education and career, there's a lack of women in particular, so we're trying to work on that. And one aspect that we are looking at, not just for women, but partly also for women, is trying to attract career changers. So that's how we're trying to solve a bit the skills and workforce gap. And one more thing that I just wanted to mention is that we're very happy with a new provision taken at European level. So coming back to policy making again, we all know that skills and labor policies are not an EU competence, but the EU did manage to put something in the Energy Efficiency Directive that we find very interesting. And in this provision, they require member states from this year and every 4 years to conduct a gap assessment looking at the gap between available and needed professionals for energy efficiency related professions. So very happy to have this exercise as a regular exercise for governments.
Thank you very much for this very quick and dense response to the $1 million question. If there is a very burning question again from another panelist to another panelist, unfortunately, there's time for one question. If not, I think that, we can move to the wrap up. I know that, you are already, most of you, if not all, working together or have been exchanging. And hopefully this event has brought closer the different aspects. And we hope that, maybe you start exchanging more and understanding other aspects of skills intelligence. Warm thanks. Thank you so much for your contribution, for investing your time here, and most of all to providing your aspects from very different views. Now the floor is to Jasper, who will provide the wrap up for this virtual get together. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks, Stelina and Ernesto, and also I add my thanks to yours, to all the panelists, for a really rich discussion. So I'm not going to try to even give a summary, but instead I would like to offer 3 takeaways from this virtual get-together. More or less, things that we can keep in mind in going forward, let's say, as we move into this decade, which some people call the skills revolution decade. So first point is that I think it's clear that to start and to manage this skills revolution, we also need a skills intelligence revolution. And we see actually positive signs, because from different places in different sectors, we see that signs of revolutions are visible. We see big data, but also foresight and other innovative approaches are gaining ground. Now, a challenge in the coming years will be to upscale what Cedefop calls this next generation skills intelligence. That means making skills intelligence smarter and more actionable at levels where it matters most, not only at the national level, but also at sectoral, regional, and local level. Some cities are, for instance, taking an important role in this. A general aspect is also making skills intelligence more directly relevant to transition. And that's not only transition of countries and regions, but first maybe transition of workers who need to move to different jobs in the coming years. Now, the second point I would like to highlight is that we need to recognize that skills intelligence is about much more than providing information on the skills we need to invest in, let's say the supply side, if you will. Skills intelligence is also about how to shape quality jobs and about better understanding where the mismatches are and what are they really coming from. Cedefop covers all these dimensions of skills intelligence. And third point, I think we need to fully acknowledge that the use and impact of skills intelligence goes beyond the policy fields it was traditionally developed for, employment, education, skills policy. Skills intelligence support, as we heard from the speakers, the green transition agenda, the innovation and digitalization policy, social policy, and can also contribute to other policy fields, such as, for instance, migration. Skills intelligence builds bridges between policy agendas and contributes to their implementation. That is also why it's so important to continue making skills intelligence better, adapting it to new trends and realities in the worlds of work and learning. That brings us to the end of this virtual get-together. I would like to thank our panelists, Jana, Diana, Julie, and Peter, my colleagues Stelina, Giri, and Ernesta, our Cedefop colleagues Beatrice, Geografia, and our IT support who were working behind the scenes to make this event possible. And I would also warmly thank all of you, our participants, for joining us. We will send you a link to the recording after the meeting, which you can feel free to pass on to your colleagues and in your networks. Before we close, please, two more small things. First of all, please take 2 minutes of your time to fill out a very short evaluation form. This is important in the context of quality improvement, and we would really appreciate your input there. The link is shared in the Teams chat. And I would also like to also warmly invite all of you to take part in our next virtual get-together on the 17th of April. You should see that on the screen right now. In that event, we will take a closer look at how European countries make their vocational education and training systems agile, flexible, excellent, inclusive, and quality assured. We will use Cedefop's entire evidence base on that to see what achievements have been made and what challenges remain. We hope to see many of you again in April. That's it from Cedefop today. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon. Have a nice rest of the day, and goodbye.